Hello everyone, I am Julian Morris with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, the response of selected Caribbean leaders to a meeting with President Trump on Friday draws sharp criticism. Reforestation along some of Dominica's rivers, the focus for International Forest Day, and much needed restoration of a fort with a lot of history in Scott's Head. The details of the news coming up.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow. Leaders of the Bahamas, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica and St. Lucia will meet with U.S. President Donald Trump on Friday. The meeting with leaders of only 5 Caribbean nations is said to be in an effort to strengthen cooperation on security and trade issues. The Associated Press is reporting that this meeting will be held at the President's Resort in Florida. But Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says Trump will use the meeting to thank the leaders for their support for peace and democracy in Venezuela. She says Trump will also discuss potential opportunities for energy investment. She says the United States remains a good friend to the Caribbean and seeks to build on a proud legacy as the region's partner of choice. Meantime, Senior Counsel Anthony Astafan says the 5 CARICOM leaders who have agreed to meet President Trump in Florida on Friday have a duty to ensure that the unity of the regional body is preserved and respected. Astafan says while the U.S. President can invite whomever he wishes, the onus is on the regional leaders themselves to ensure that the chairman of CARICOM is not sidelined.
If in fact the President or the Prime Minister of England or Canada wants to have a discussion with Caribbean countries about any matter relating to China, I don't know what that was about, or in relation to Venezuela, it has to be with the representatives of CARICOM, and must include the chairman of CARICOM. None of these prime ministers know that will be on their way to Florida shortly to meet with the prime minister have the authority or the jurisdiction to speak on behalf of CARICOM. They certainly cannot speak on behalf of St. Vincent, Antigua, St. Kitts, Dominica, and the others, and Grenada. They don't have the authority to. So that is just, to me, a cosmic appearance of some formal sort of meeting. And to me, it's meaningless. In fact, I think the prime ministers, and in particular the prime minister from the OECS, has showed complete disrespect for the unity of the OECS and CARICOM by deciding to go to a meeting and neglecting the fact that the chairman of CARICOM is not Alan Chasney, but I think it's Dr. Harris or somebody else.
Astafan says those who are invited to such a meeting must have the moral and political courage to indicate they cannot speak for CARICOM or not authorized to speak for OECS, and that the duly appointed representatives of CARICOM must also be invited to the meeting.
And I would have had no doubt that at the last heads meeting in Guadeloupe, that some of the prime ministers, 3, maybe 4 of them, would have said that precise thing to Alan Chasney. How could you go there without the chairman of CARICOM? What are you doing? But c'est la vie. Now, we must now address seriously the whole question of the unity of the OECS and the unity of CARICOM, because we don't have a unified position on the European Union blacklisting, because some countries are acting very selfishly. We don't have a common position on LIAT because Alan Chasney has his own pipe dream. We don't have a common position right now on almost anything of political importance to the people of the Caribbean. because some prime ministers like Mr. Shastri think that how should I call him, the Lone Ranger. You cannot be a Lone Ranger in Caribbean politics if in fact you're part of the OECS and CARICOM.
In other news, a reforestation project along the banks of dredged rivers is on the cards for Thursday. Here is Andrea Louis with a report.
This as Dominica will join the rest of the world in observing International Day of Forests on 21st March. Assistant Forest Officer in the Environmental Education Unit of the Forestry Division, Norma Anthony, says the youth will be getting involved in the reforestation project in various parts of the country.
We have a riparian forest at the Pishle River with the the Belleville Primary School and the Granby Village Council. We're working in collaboration with them. So we're doing a reforestation along that area because they're doing the dredging and stuff. So after the dredging is done, we usually go and do some sort of reforestation, riparian forest there. We did it at Live Canaway. It was done there by the Rose Orange, so we'll be doing one at the Pishle River. Also the different ranges like the Eastern Range in La Plaine and the Central Range in Pocase will also be conducting like forest activities with different schools.
The theme of this year's International Day of Forests is Forests and Education. Anthony says the division likes to work with the youth to instill in them best practices for the future.
We usually target schools as part of our awareness programs because we saw it's easier to mold the minds of children. Like they pick up things faster. So when we go to the schools and we teach children about reforestation and how important it is to the wildlife, or how important it is to humans, to us as well. So we hope they'll take that, go home, talk to their parents about it, tell their parents about it, say, Mommy, forestry came into my school today and they said if we plant 10 mango trees there, we can get mangoes to sell, we can get mangoes to eat, and we can get birds to come and build nests and all those things. So we trying to instill that sort of appreciation for nature with our youth, so as they grow up, they will grow up with that sort of thing in them.
In 2012, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the 21st March as the International Day of Forests. The day celebrates and raises awareness of the importance of all types of forests. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
Coordinator of Dominica's Geothermal Energy Development Project, Dr. Vince Henderson, says securing World Bank funding for that first geothermal power plant is remarkable. The World Bank has approved $17.2 million as concessionary loan plus $22 million in grant funding for Dominica. Ambassador Vince Henderson says this level of involvement in a project of this nature is a first for the World Bank.
One of the senior managers, as they call it, the practice manager, at the World Bank sent me an email yesterday, excited about the fact that this project received board approval last week. And in his note, he highlighted something that I wish to share with you. He noted that this is the first time that the World Bank is getting engaged in the financing of a geothermal project in the manner in which they're doing it in Dominica. And just to briefly explain that, when we approached the World Bank and the PM instructed me to go ahead and do this plan, form a company, the government will contribute its equity, and we will mobilize resources to get this plan done. We're not going to wait on a partner to do this. We went to the World Bank, and the World Bank said, no, you need to go, you need to get a partner, you need a technical partner, you don't have the capacity to do this, you've never done this, you don't know how to do this, and go back, get a partner. When you get a partner, come and let's have a chat. And you know what, better yet, we'll help you to get a partner. And I insisted because I said I have clear instructions from my Prime Minister that we are going to build this plant with a company fully owned by the government of Dominica. We're not bringing in a partner. So they said, well, then no deal. So I went to Iceland, sat at a conference, did some research, came back, and went to D.C., went to Washington, D.C., to the World Bank and said to them, okay, here's our plan. We have identified the skills that we need to construct a geothermal power plant. We are going to contract those services because the Prime Minister has provided funds to us from the Citizenship by Investment Program. We are going to use these funds to contract the services that we need, the skills that we need, and we are going to build a plan.
New Zealand provided $2 million in technical support, but the work was not done.
We went to SITSUP, an organization that I helped to create, and I serve as the chairman of that organization. We were able to get $2 million. We said we're going to put this in, and we continue to move around. We went to the UK, and the UK said, okay, yes, we have a facility. We can provide you with $10 million. And we continued, and we built this, and they said, okay, you know what, we're on board. And we will not just provide financing, alone, but we'll help you to mobilize grant financing. And they were able to come back with $10 million to help in the support of geothermal development in Namibia. So he reminded me that he took a chance with us because he had the confidence, based on the plan that I submitted to him on the behalf of the government of Dominica, that he felt that comfortable enough to take that chance. And today, he has recognized that it is the first time they have actually gotten involved in the financing of a geothermal power plant, especially in a small island state like Dominica.
You are watching Channel 5 News. We'll have more after this.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are,
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
there's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Les moun ki ni TB estene e ben tout se, moun ki en bonne santé oli wan ka respire se vermine lan. Moun ki pa ni bon tempérament kon sa ki ni maladi HIV, alcool, ka fime, ti mamay e gwa moun bien sensible pour ces maladies ça là. Moun ki ka tousse ni pou prendre précaution le yo en parmi moun en place publique, couvert bouche ou le ka estene et tousse. Visitez docteur et ben place santé. Fini tout traitement yo ba ou sa joine guérison et puis maladie TB. En responsabilité ou aider du bout si men maladie TB et HIV, protéger corps et les autres.
Dominica is now better positioned to implement the remaining requirements under the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement. The goal and purpose of that agreement is to simplify and modernize administrative rule procedures, customs procedures, and documentation, thereby making trade of goods across borders much easier and simpler.
Although the agreement was adopted, for it to be effected, it had to be signed by about 2/3 of the members of the WTO. And so on the 22nd day of February 2017, 2/3 had signed, and so the agreement came into force. Dominica did its part, and it ratified the agreement on the 20th day of November 2016. By the time it ratified that agreement, Dominica was in a position to implement immediately upon the coming into force of the agreement 72% of all the measures needed to have been implemented. And so there are approximately 8 measures that Dominica has in what is called Category C. And Category C means that there is a need for technical or financial assistance to be able to implement those arrangements. Now, we had a task force in place. The purpose of the task force, which was formalized and approved by Cabinet, was to articulate Dominica's positions within the context of the negotiation process where that agreement was concerned. But when the agreement was adopted and ratified and effected, there was no need for a task force because the task force would have served its mandate. There is need now for a committee to discuss and to guide and to advise the Cabinet of Dominica, the Permanent Secretary, the Minister of Trade, etc., as it relates to the implementation of the agreement here on island and also the dissemination of information to the public as it relates to that arrangement.
That committee benefited from a week-long empowerment workshop organized by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, last week.
What the UNCTAD persons, which is the United Nations Conference for Trade and Development, what they came to do in Dominica really was to empower the members of the task of the committee so that those persons can truly understand what their mandates are. They can very truly understand what they need to do, what part they need to play in being able to implement the arrangement in Dominica. The workshop was very successful. We at first thought that 1 week of having the private sector, most of the members, the private sector people, we wanted to have a good private sector contingent on board. We thought 1 week of having them out of their organizations, their business establishments would have been difficult for them, but they surpassed our expectations, and they maintained full strength throughout the course of the entire week and received their certification. So they are empowered now. They have a meeting planned for late in April so that we can be able to clearly chart a path forward for further implementation of the arrangement. And I think that based on the conversations that I had with the representatives from UNCTAD who were here delivering and presenting the workshop, they were very elated and happy with the turnout, happy with the enthusiasm showed by our committee members, happy with the amount of private sector persons who sit on the committee and who showed keen interest in what was happening, and they look forward to coming back to Dominica for a second more intense leg of empowerment, so that we can truly be able to realize full implementation, which promises between 13 to 17.5% of a decrease in the cost of doing business in Dominica.
A development plan for one of Dominica's historical ruins is on the cards. The fort at Scott's Head was named after Colonel George Scott, who became Lieutenant Governor of Dominica from 1764 to 1767. However, a major section of the structure was lost as the cliff on which it was sitting fell into the sea. Minister for Tourism and Culture Robert Tongue says thought has been given to rehabilitating the Scott's Head fort.
We are looking at it. I think we have some preliminary information and designs, but as I've listened to even to some of this, it means I think we need to kind of go back to the drawing board. The first plan we have is that the Carabantic area on the strip, we've just gotten permission to redo that building. It'll be done in a Calinago type of style, so at least the wind can pass through. It'll be more airy, and so hopefully within the next couple of months, work will start on that particular project also.
And the cause of an almost 5-day-long fire at the Fokole landfill is still being investigated. We go back now to Andrea Louis for more.
The fire, which started on the night of Saturday, 23rd February, was successfully put out by the fire and ambulance services on the afternoon of Wednesday, 27th February. Public Relations Officer of the Fire and Ambulance Services says the department had to call officers back from vacation leave to help fight the fire at the landfill, and up to 40 men were engaged in this fight.
We had the shift change at the landfill, so we basically asked all the fire officers who were off duty to return, so we coordinated those shifts from headquarters, and persons would have actually changed shift at the fire site. So we fought that fire continuously until sometime Wednesday afternoon, and that was the Wednesday before Carnival. And basically it's in excess of 100 hours of firefighting, so we had that covered. And it was, as I would say, it was a challenging feat because the fires actually existed below what was supposed to be the metal dump site. So we had the combustibles below the metals, and then when that was hot enough, then metals caught fire. And metal fire is usually violent fire, and they burn for a very long time.
Later says, though investigations are ongoing, there are strong indications as to the cause of the fire.
But it is suspected that some flame may have been introduced to some combustibles that were in the area. But I must say at the landfill what we have, and would want to encourage persons to dump the proper material, and that involves separation of your garbage. we ask persons to comply with the Solid Waste Corporation and dump only in the area that they tell you to dump. And what may have happened is that some level of fire may have been taken from one area and dumped in an area where was supposed to be only metals, and there was combustibles in that area. And possibly that's how we suspect that's how it may have been started. So, but investigations are still ongoing. We have an investigation team working with solid waste on that at the moment.
Depending on the direction of the wind, fumes from the blaze affected communities as far south as Kingshill and as far north as Mount Daniel. Classes at the Dominica State College were also disrupted because of the smoke. Later says other entities were called upon to help successfully extinguish the blaze.
So what we did, we just constantly used our resources to damp that off, and on the Tuesday, we got assistance through solid waste from the Dominica Strong. So they provided additional excavators and the dump trucks. And what we did, the excavators moved the metal, we dug holes, and then we replaced the metal with river sand. So they used the opportunity to dredge the Rosary River above the Bafford Bridge, and that's where they got the material from. So we did more of a smothering at the end, and that was able to control it. It involved burying what is there, preventing it from getting oxygen.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red jeans, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Here are some tips to reduce mosquito presence in and around your home. Keep water storage containers properly covered. Remove containers that can collect water from your surroundings. Keep garbage bins tightly covered. Pick up your litter and remove all tires from your yard. Keep gutters free of leaves and twigs to prevent stagnant water. Prevent Zika, dengue, and chikungunya. Fight the bite. This is a public service announcement from the Dominica Red Cross.
This message is supported by Flow. To end the news, a look again at the headlines. The response of selected Caribbean leaders to a meeting with President Trump on Friday draws sharp criticism. Reforestation along some of Dominica's rivers, the focus for International Forest Day, and a much-needed restoration for a fort with a lot of history in Scott's Head. Feel free to contact us at news@mapping2k4.com. You may access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the production team, I am Julian Morris. Thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.